right. We're streaming, right?
Yep, we're live.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Let's Talk About It with Alice. We are so excited this afternoon. We have a very special guest. So we want you to invite everybody in. Please share. Please join us in the comments if you have questions. This is live. This is where our conversation, you can conversate back and forth and ask questions. So we want you to know that Let's Talk About It with Alice, all about life conversations, all about the things that that's going on in our world and in your world. So let's talk about it with Alice. We have Dr. Shawana Clark on today.
Hey, everybody.
All right. We have Terry on. All right. Can you give
Afternoon,
them
everybody.
great? Hello, everybody. Yes. And let's talk about it with Alice today. We have a very special guest, and we're talking about violence. Violence that's going on with our young people. We have someone that really, that I've been knowing for years, probably over 15, maybe right at 20 years. But this young man
Wow.
is just powerful. He's powerful all over the state, but really, he travels all over the nation, and we're so fortunate to be able to get him to come on and be with us, just to have a conversation with us and just tell us what is he seeing. I know that years ago, violence looked different, schools look different, our young people gangs, just wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So we have Mr. Mark Bumby, all the way from Mississippi. Let's give it a hand. I love it. I love it. And we're
Yay.
excited. So I have to ring my bell on Mark because Mark is one of the best I know. So I have to ring my bell. But for those of you that are in the field of prevention, Mark all over Georgia and out of Georgia, but those that's in the field of prevention, we hope you join in and please share this. We're not going to take up any more time because I want Mark to talk a little bit about himself, and then we're going to rip it and take it from there. All right, Mark, are you ready?
I am ready. I'm ready. Thank you, Alice.
Okay,
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for the
okay.
introduction, and thank you for the love. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So thank you guys. Nice meeting your beautiful daughters there, Dr. Clark and Terry. Hey, nice meeting you guys. Yeah, so a little bit about me. I think I'm just a down home country boy. Although I grew up in Detroit, uh, first part of my life, but I'm a country boy at heart. Got an opportunity to marry my high school sweetheart. So past
Ah,
11 years, that's who I've been blessed to be with. Thank the God for another opportunity. I'm not going to say a second or a third chance because for me, it might be the 539th chance. So
yeah.
thank the Lord for that. Let's see. I'm a father. Um, I have six children, four biological, two. When I got this beautiful blessing that I'm married to now, got her two children as well. So I'm a father of six, and I'm a
Wow.
proud grandfather of 11 grandbabies. Got 11 grandbabies. Yes, I know
Wow.
I don't look it, and I'm also
No.
celebrating my birthday this weekend. Yesterday was actually my
Yay.
birthday,
Oh, happy
so I'm
birthday, Mark.
celebrating.
Woo! Thank you. Happy birthday.
Celebrating being 57 years old. So
Wow. 57
Wow.
years young.
never thought I'd make it this far. So
Uh-oh.
I'm happy to be here, and thank you guys for allowing me to be here. Thank you guys for
Yeah.
allowing this platform to take place and having the discussions that you're having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, these discussions are kind of discussions that really are serious. And so, as Mark comes back in, we will continue the discussion all about violence and what is really going on in our schools. He'll have a chance to talk about the kinds of things that he's seeing and the trends that's going on in schools all across the nation. So, Mark could get a chance to talk about that. Mark is a prevention specialist, which means that he specializes in the area of prevention, that not only youth prevention, but also with young adults that's in the colleges. And also he is a former, what do you say, law enforcement.
Yeah.
He is. And so he consults all over the place. Also at Talladega College, different places. When I say to you, he has been a real I would say, a power source in the area of prevention, which means prevention in Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, all of those surrounding states, but even in Washington, consulting with different law enforcement, how we going to get a handle on, gangs and things like that. And then what are those things that are really, really going on in school? What's spiking these kinds of things that's going on? Where's all of this coming from? So years ago, you didn't have the kind of things that's going on now. That's what we have now. So hopefully he'll be able to join back with us. We were hoping that, this is a machine subject to fail. There you go,
Okay.
Mark.
Okay. All right. I'm back. Wow.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
you're
what
good.
happened.
It's okay.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened. All of a sudden, everything went black. So sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay. So I'm sure you guys continued on a little bit. So what did I miss or where am I?
Yes, I was just
What do I need
talking
to-
about the work that you've been doing in the field.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know what all you covered, but I've been doing this. Well, I started law enforcement in 1989, but I've been doing this FTC prevention services and this type of work. Moved to Mississippi in, what was that, 1999. And then in 2006, I started FTC Prevention Services, FOMBI Training and Consulting. We're actually currently, we've started this and stopped this a couple of times, but we're working on changing the FTC to a nonprofit so that FTC will stand for the children.
Okay.
And all the training that I do, and I'm certified in prevention. All the training that I do is usually prevention oriented, unfortunately and fortunately. But I'm not crazy about the idea of being called the gang guy. I'm certified through OJJDP and NTAC as the gang guy.
Okay.
So sometimes even walk to the airport, people will be like, "Hey, there's the gang guy," and I'm like, "I'm not in a gang," but because the way it comes across is the gang. And I'm often known as the music guy. I do trainings on the message and the music. So those two things are what people probably know me most for, and that's around the country. But I also do a lot of other stuff, anything under the umbrella of prevention, whether it's anger management, conflict resolution, helping folks to be creative in resolving conflict, creating a curriculum for implementation in schools, changing attitudes, changing behaviors. It's a 25-week program that I created because I'm not a fan of behavior mod. Behavior modification suggests that you'll change your behavior based on the environment that you're in or just for that certain time. But I believe if I can change your attitude, or if you can change your attitude, if I can influence that, you change your attitude, you'll change your behavior no matter where you are. And it's more, for me, I believe that that's more of a learned and experienced thing that happens, which means you're more likely to stick to it. And especially if you understand why the attitude needs to change, then the behavior changes and you see a difference. I think you're more likely to just live with that. But anyway, that's a little bit about me. Just a little
That's
bit.
really good. The curriculum that you were just sharing. So it's a curriculum that's in schools right now across the country.
I can't hear you. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yep. I was saying the curriculum
Okay.
that you.
I think Dr. Clark was trying to talk.
Yes. You're on mute.
But I couldn't hear anything.
So the curriculum that you have, is that curriculum in schools, she was asking?
Oh, well, I did it in a couple of schools here in Mississippi. So it's something that we offer, but we did it for 3 years straight. We did it in a couple of schools, well, 3 schools up in the Delta, North Mississippi, and then 1 school on the coast, down in South Mississippi, down in a little small town, down by Biloxi, down by Gulfport.
Okay.
Gulfport, Biloxi, and I guess it's okay if I say the name of those towns, but Moss Point was South Mississippi, and up in the Delta in Greenwood, Mississippi was the middle school, alternative school, and the high school. So we've done it there. Right now, it's not in any school. It's just something that I still offer. I think COVID put a damper on a lot of things, and folks got away from, especially in-person training. So I might be forced to make it where I can do it virtually. But the important thing for me about that training is trying to train the adults to be able to do it when I'm not there.
Yeah.
Give you an example. Right. So Greenwood, there was times that I'd show up because it was Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday there. Show up on Tuesday, and they'd be commenting from last week about what do you do with those kids while you're here? Because they don't act like this when you're here. So just teaching the teachers how to do what it is that they need to
Yeah.
do to have the same type of,
Yeah.
and control is not the right word. Respect is a good word, but just the
Effect, the
same
same effect that you have.
effect, I guess would be a better
Yeah.
word, for them to be able to have the same effect to effectuate change in their schools. But a lot of times I got hit with that. And in Greenwood, it wasn't just myself. I can't take all the credit for it. I had a partner who went up there with me every week, and that's Pee Wee. His name is Frederick Burns. He's a military guy. So well, we're both prior military, but he was still active military in the Guard. And that military mindset he had, once kids realized and understood, hey, this is going to be the structure, this is how it is, they live up to your expectations.
Yeah. Well, what do you find is one of the biggest challenges that you're facing in the field, and how are you, how are you tackling it? Especially working with youth now. Youth now. That's what I want to talk about. Youth now and where they are now. The trend that we got going on all across the nation. Violence all across the nation.
Yeah. So. And I get that the question is about youth now, but it's sort of
it's not just about subject, youth, but we got violence everywhere now.
Right, and sometimes people get a little offended with my responses because I just believe in being honest and being real. And the biggest problem that's related to, in my opinion, related to the youth violence is the lack of adult involvement.
Okay, then.
So when people say stuff like it starts at home, that's deeper than just it starts at home, but the lack of adult involvement across the board.
Right.
There was a time that it was okay when people understood things like it takes a village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
And today the village is afraid of the child. So
yes.
Not a lot of people are saying anything. Not a lot of people are involved. The lack of positive role models. People talked about absentee fathers for a long time. That's been an issue for a long time. My mother was my mother and my father. So growing up without a dad, I think, it's important, and I know that it's important, but I also think that that's just one of the things that people blame it on. But don't give enough credit to the strong women who do what's necessary to do what they need to do. Because my mom taught us a lot of things about growing up. And I've heard people say stuff like a woman can't teach a boy how to be a man. But I disagree in this way. I disagree because a woman can raise a man.
Yes.
And I believe that I'm an example. My brother would be an example
of a woman
raising a man. Now, there's some things my mom couldn't teach me about being a man.
Right.
But you can't tell me a woman can't raise a man. My mother's one of the strongest women that I know. And it's amazing to me how she did what she did with 5 kids. So anyway.
How many boys was it?
2 boys. 2 boys and 3 girls.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what has been your favorite aspect of what you do? What has been your favorite?
Honestly, so starting off, I used to just work with the kids and went around traveling, training the kids. At one point, I had contracts in 17 states, and it was going to talk to the kids and working with the kids. And I missed that. I missed that direct contact with the kids. But what happened was people started saying, hey, look, we need you to tell us, and we need you to talk to us about what it is you know about these kids and how, why and how, what's going on with them. So I started training the adults. Now, part of that might have been because there was not a lot of funding, and it's not that I'm about the money. I tell people all the time, I'm not about holding information hostage. And if you'll cover me getting where I need to get to, I'll do what you need me to do. But the adults started booking me more than putting me in front of children. And that was because the adults were thirsty for the information. Adults were looking for ways to deal with, cope, accept, train, handle young folks. So the information that I share, I think of a training that I just had to create for adults because they just had no idea. Technology information for parents and service providers. It's just how kids do what they do on the electronic devices. Games children play,
Wow.
which sometimes lead to suicide, which also certified suicide awareness trainer for OJJDP and NTAC. But games children play are things kids do in the home or with their friends that adults sometimes have no idea, and sometimes it leads to death, unexpected death. But putting together those things because parents were asking, or parents were just unaware of what's actually happening, what's going on. So what I miss is working with the young folks. What I enjoy most is just sharing information. So whatever that audience is, I enjoy that, but I really miss the one-on-one with the kids. That's what I miss.
One of the
One with the
things one
kids.
of the things that you
Mhm.
said, was, going through the airport, you're known as the gang guy. What does that mean? Tell us
I
more
can see
about.
that she's trying to talk, but I can't hear a word she's saying. Can you hear her,
She
Okay.
Alice?
If you
said
can hear
that,
me, Mom, just repeat it for me.
yeah, go ahead. She said that, you mentioned something about going through the airport and being called a gang guy. What does that mean?
That I've trained a lot of folks on gang awareness, what gangs are doing, what gangs look like, and people identify me as the gang guy. And it's not just in one or two places. I mean, recently, and I say recently, earlier this year, I was in Florida, and it was in the introduction now. And I was like, I don't know why people do that. Why people call me that? And then, of course, the guy tells me, well, your assistant sent the introduction and it has that in there. I'm like, I'm going to kill her because she knows that that's one of the things that, I'm usually like, because I don't like it when it happens. But it's not that it's a bad thing. I just don't want people to know me just as being a trainer on gangs, on gang awareness. It's good. I'm remembered for that. So I mean, yeah, that's good. But I don't want people just to know me as that. Just like I don't want them to know me as just the music guy, because there's so much more to me in what I offer. I guess I should be proud that folks remember those trainings and people ask for those trainings and request
It's all
yeah.
in the music. I remember. It's all in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
music. That
exactly,
was
exactly.
powerful because listening
Yeah.
to the lyrics, that to me is
Mhm.
something that yeah, that is really powerful. I remember that. Um,
Yeah.
what about, I'm thinking now of all of the training, all of the things that you are, credentialed in and certified in, but the thing that you're being called on the most to do, what are those things that you're being called on the most to do?
Right now, it's still about gangs and youth violence.
Wow.
Um, Gangs are still around. They just don't look like they used to look. It's not the Colors age. For those of you who remember the movie Colors, it doesn't necessarily look like that all across the country. But the gang violence is still there.
Still there.
The focus has shifted somewhat to where it used to be strictly rivalries to now you've got rival gangs who will work together because it's about the
Mm.
green, it's about the
Exactly.
money.
Yep.
And you've got groups who are teaming up to do stuff together
Yep.
in neighborhoods, cliques, communities
Hmm.
that normally would not function or work together, and they're doing stuff like that now. The violence that's going on today. In fact, I'm working on December 7th, 8th, 9, offering a youth violence training here in Mississippi, where we're going to invite some school folks as well and colleges, and try to get folks involved that need to know. CRAZE is one of the trainings that's going to be presented at that training, and it's going to be done by law enforcement officers, but it is citizens' response to an active shooter event.
Mm.
CRASE. So what do the normal citizens do when this is going on or when this happens?
Right.
So people on a college campus, people in a school, schools are probably doing some training. But for those who haven't had that training, we're going to offer it that December 7th, 8th, 9th time period. But trying to educate and inform folks about the violence that's plaguing our cities today. And when I tell you, it's not just one part of the country; it's all across the nation.
Right.
Here in Mississippi, it's something every day. In Georgia, there is something every day. I don't know what the stats are. I didn't pull the stats for where you guys are, but I do a lot of work in Georgia, so I'm familiar with a lot of stuff that goes on, even when it's the little small towns, small towns, small cities outside of, for example, outside of Atlanta, but getting away from the big city. And I don't know, Alice, is okay if I use a small town like Tifton, Moultrie,
Yeah.
those little small towns. They're
Right.
still plagued with violence.
Right.
So trying to educate folks about what's going on, the mindset, the temperament of young people, what they're dealing with, and folks not understanding or relating it to, come on now, you were once 13, 14, 15 years old. I get it. The kids are not today. They're not the same as we were when we were that age. But that's going to take me back to the statement I made a few minutes ago, that the lack of adult involvement.
Right.
You got kids raising kids. You got kids being taught by the TV, by the movies, by the music. They're being taught by something other than a responsible adult who's looking out for the best of the child. You got kids who have this thing, as Dr. Clark just did. You got kids who have this thing glued to their hand, and they get more information out of this, and they pay more attention to what's being said on that than they do some of their parents. So all of those things add to the problems, but all of those things in and of themselves aren't the only problem. So, but when you put all of that together, you create an environment where it's not conducive for young people to thrive, grow, learn. It's going to continue to produce what they've been exposed to. And there was a time that people say, just because I grew up in that environment doesn't mean that environment has to grow up in me. But if this is the only environment I'm exposed to, and this is all I know, I don't have any other options.
So do you think that that's where a lot of the anger stemming from that within our youth today? Because with all the fighting, all the shooting, all the stuff that's going on in the schools, because when we were coming along, you rarely heard of a fight, but now every day on the television is a fight or a brawl even at the malls, at the schools. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just always a brawl. But why? Why are these children so angry? And what's the frustration about?
It ranges. It's all across the board. I will say that I think one thing that we need to interweave into everything that we do is the concern for mental health, mental stability, addressing the issues related to trauma, things that our kids have been exposed to, that they've seen, that they've gone through, that especially in the African American community, things that we used to say about if it happens in our house, you keep it in our house. The other folks don't need to know. And there's some things that folks have been sweeping under the rug for a long time. But now, again, going back to the first statement, the absence of active adults in their lives, there are things that these kids are going through, exposed to, that are that's happening to them. And there is no security. There is no secure door. And what I mean by the secure door is an adult that they can trust, run to, somebody they expect to save them, rescue them, that they can relate to. So a lot of that stuff is just pent up frustration. Not that they're angry. They become desensitized to violence. So the thought of shooting, a lot of the games that they play, that they're exposed to on whether it's PlayStation, PS4, most of the games you see they're playing, that they're addicted to, that they've got to do, that they're playing nationwide with their friends. I'm sitting here, I got somebody sitting in Washington, somebody sitting in Idaho, and we're all playing the same game. It's usually related to something to do with shooting.
That's true.
But see, at the end of this game, I can hit reset or restart, and it starts over. But that doesn't apply to life. Think about the kid that shot all those people up in Wisconsin, who said he had not picked up a real firearm until the day that he did the shooting. But he said he learned how to shoot at the duck hunt game at Walmart. Just going to Walmart, shooting the duck hunt game, the proper way to stand, the proper way to aim the gun, all those type things. I'm not in mean saying that Walmart is responsible for that, but I'm saying he learned how to shoot from playing a video game, a duck hunt game, and then picked up a gun, and he went and shot some folks. I think he hit 16 people. 16 died out of the 20 that he shot. I know law enforcement officers that don't shoot 16 out of 20. That's considered an expert.
Wow.
I'm not saying it would be funny, but I just that's really good shooting for somebody to pick up a gun the first time, and all the stuff that he knew to do, the stance, the aim, how to hold it, all of that. It came from what he's been exposed to, what's in his environment, what he's been practicing on a daily basis. So when you think about why kids are angry, what they're dealing with, what they're going through, the music that they listen to usually involves a lot of anger, a lot of violence. The video games that they play, the movies that they watch on TV, the stuff that they see on a daily basis in their neighborhoods and communities, if that's all laced with violence, that becomes the norm. And oftentimes they're not looking at death as the permanent thing that it is. I had a young girl tell me this one day related to that. She said, I've been thinking about killing myself because I want to die, because I want to see my mother's response when she sees my body in the casket. And so when you think about stuff like that, baby, you do know, you realize that you're not going to be able to see your mother's response when she sees your body in the casket. So it's almost like, I don't understand. I want to take some pills, go to sleep, but I'll wake up. And so there's not a connection there. Again, the mental health aspect of what's going on has to be addressed. And in the African American community, we haven't been addressing it for a long time. So we've got an increase in African American suicides. We've got an increase in African Americans who are not gang related, not street war related, but committing crimes with handguns and other weapons that we've not seen before. But some of those things are directly related to the mental health aspect of they're just not in a good space, and they need to be in a good space.
Yes.
How do we help them get there?
How?
That's right.
Yes. How do we help them to get there? We are right. Oh
I'm not going to keep saying this as the blanket. I'm not going to keep saying this as the blanket answer, but it starts at home too. Mom and them got to understand that it's okay that your baby has to take some medicine for a little while. It's just because they start taking it doesn't mean they're going to have to always take it. You might need some medicine yourself and stop getting the baby's prescription and you taking the medication. But anyway, we've got to get folks to understand that it's important for us to identify and recognize what's going to be necessary for us to move forward. If not, it's going to only get worse. And I said this 10 years ago, it's going to get worse before it gets better. I said that in a lot of the trainings that I was doing, that it was going to get worse before it gets better. Well, not that I'm a prophet, not that I predict the future or anything, but it's gotten a lot worse. And it's going to continue to get worse before it gets better as long as we keep hiding our head in the sand. We've got to do more and be more actively involved as the adults who are responsible for raising these young people that we're dealing with today.
Oh my goodness, you have said, I mean, a mouthful. And when I tell you, the real thing is that no one wants to take responsibility for anything. Okay. And one of the things that really is very disturbing is that, I'm sorry, when you said something about parents, self-care, self-help, you may need help. And parents need to understand that. Well, sometimes you just can't deal with it. And so you need some help. Reach out. But we have to do that. There's things that are provided in communities for parents but they don't show up because parents really don't feel that they need anybody to tell them how to raise their children.
Right.
And they do need some help.
You do.
They do. And so you just need some help. You need someone who's been through it or who's going through it, or you need that camaraderie. You're talking about takes a whole village to raise a child. You need a support system in place.
Exactly.
Because it can become overwhelming. We do this. I'm doing this parenting now about finding me parenting you. Because one of the things that we've learned is that a lot of parents are struggling. And they can't help their children because they don't struggle. And so to help parents understand how is that you need a circle of those that can help you. And we know that parenting ain't easy, but it's one of the best jobs. You get help, one of the best jobs. And no, that's not a perfect parent. There's not even a curriculum written that would tell you that, you do all this, that, and the other, your child is going to come out, perfect.
Right.
But no, we've got some things that with the Florida Developmental Assets, you remember Cirque Institute did this,
Yes.
and children need assets building. But if you don't know about them, you don't know how to build them. And a lot of them, some you built and didn't even know it. But children have said, this is what I need. I believe if I had this, and this, I would turn out
Mhm.
all right. I would, be okay if I just had this. If I just had someone to listen to me. If I just had a parent that would take the time and work, support me while I am playing ball or while I am doing this. But it's just a lot. And what you
Well,
said is just cool. But I
and
believe that
well, I was going to say where you are right now, I think is key and is instrumental because the kids will tell you what they need if we will listen, if we will supply them the platform in a respected place that they can
Right.
share what it is that they need. So there's this thing I do when I'm training the leaders in communities and in administration, whether it's the city council, whatever, whoever I'm meeting with, town hall meetings. I'm telling the adults nothing about us without us. And they said, what do you
Mhm.
mean by that, Mr. Fumble? What are you talking about? Where are the teens? You're here talking
Yeah.
about the teens and what you're going to do, what you think you need to do for the teens, but there are no teens here. So,
Yeah.
so I'm going to represent the teens today. And I would tell you guys nothing about us without us. You're talking about
Yeah.
what you want to do for us. You're talking about what you want to present, what you think we need, but we're not at the table. So, and you'd be surprised how much power you give a young person who may be straddled the fence, that unofficial
Yeah.
leader. It doesn't have to be
Right.
the A and B student at the school, but
Yes.
it's the little boy in the neighborhood, the little girl in the community that when they speak,
Yes.
all the other kids listen. But you get them
Yeah.
a part of your student advisory board. You create
Mm.
stuff where you give them a platform where they're directly involved and they've got a say,
Mhm.
and they know that the adults are listening. You'd be surprised
Exactly.
at what they do. You'd be surprised at
Right.
what they'll give you. You'll be
Yeah.
surprised at what they tell you is necessary. You'll be surprised at what they tell you the real problems are. When you thought the
Come
problem was
on.
just them smoking weed and getting high, you'll find out that no, they ain't smoking weed like y'all think they are. That's more of a recreational thing. But this is what they do. And they'll tell you, man, we popping pills, we stacking that with this and this and this, and we on this and we on that. And you're like, what? I had no idea. Where y'all getting that from? Oh,
Right. Yeah.
parties and blah, blah. And
Yeah.
they tell you all this information that otherwise you would not have, that you wouldn't get. This
That's
is the
true.
type of information I end up getting from kids when I go to communities
Yep.
and I have an
I have.
opportunity to work with those kids. I'm telling you, I miss working with the babies. I miss working with them because that's where I got a lot of the information from that I shared with the adults that I've been doing now for, I don't know, 20 years now.
Yeah.
But it started
And
off with me working with those young people and understanding
Yeah.
that they have to feel valued with the
Yeah.
information
Right.
that you're asking of them. You're asking them to snitch, but they have to feel
Right.
the value of sharing that information.
Mhm.
Being
I had
able
a
to
seventh
share.
grade tell me the difference between being called a snitch is a snitch is you tell on somebody to get them in trouble, but you report it to get people out of trouble. So why are we not asking more kids to report what's going on? A seventh grader. Ain't no snitch.
Wow.
Ain't no
That's
snitch. You
good.
snitch tell they get people in trouble, but you report stuff to get people out of trouble. So why are we
Yeah.
talking
Wow.
about
That's
Makes sense.
good.
That's real good.
Man, we could go on with
difference,
this.
though.
I love that.
I've got about 5 minutes, and I want to ask you a couple of questions that I didn't get to. What is one piece of advice you give to someone starting out in this career? What is the one piece of advice that you would give someone?
Find your niche and be committed to what you do and do that well. That thing that you don't mind doing, whether you get paid for it or not. There's a lot of times when I first started off doing trainings that I went for free. I would even tell people, okay, I won't charge you a fee, just pay for me to get there. And they would say, well, we don't even have the money to pay for you to get here. Well, okay, I'll come. And that led to a whole lot of other stuff and paid
Open
opportunities.
up
But
doors.
yeah, so find your niche. What are you good at? What is it that you enjoy? And just make sure you're good at that. You don't have to be good at a lot of things. Just be good at what it is you're good at, and know what that is for you, and do that. My granddad told me one time, when you find a job that you enjoy, that you like doing, do that because you'll never work a day in your life. Of course,
Wow,
I
that's
didn't
good.
understand what he was saying at the time, but Makes sense now. Makes sense.
Yeah.
If
Good
there's
stuff.
one, if you could be remembered for one thing, Mark, what would it be?
Wow.
Mm,
If I could be remembered for one thing, what's important to me is my legacy with my kids, my grandkids. That's important to
mm,
me. What I would want them to remember and them to know more than anybody else anywhere else would be my kids and my grandkids is unselfish love. Even when it didn't come across that way. My kids think
unselfish
I'm
love.
mean sometimes. I might be harsh sometimes. I'm a realist. I believe in calling it like it is. But
That's me.
even when I don't agree with what you're doing, I'm still going to be there to support you. So that unselfish love would be important.
That's,
That's
that's
great.
that
Yeah.
unconditional love. Awesome.
That's great.
Wow. So you've heard it, everybody. This has been, Mark,
We've
I
got a
can't
lot of great
say,
comments.
oh, you really,
Yeah, we got
anybody
a
you
lot of
said
great
anything that you
comments.
want to share?
There was
Who said it?
Mark, someone I think obviously this is someone that you know, Quinn Hamid said it always bothers me when meetings are conducted regarding a certain class of people, but none of those people are actually in the meeting. And
Right.
Loretta King said, "Don't be afraid to ask for help." Bridget replied to Gwen and said, "It always bothers me." No, Bridget said, "Quinn, I mean that part." And Bridget also says, "Do what you love and family." So it was a lot of great comments that came through the
So
chat.
she said there's a lot of great comments that have come out of this, and particularly people that you know have made a lot of great comments in terms of what
Okay.
you just shared. But one was that stuck out to me is that it's interesting that people are not up in the room, those that need to be in the room, normally are not in the room to be able to hear things like this. Normally not in the room when conversations are being had like this, and that's what's really
Right.
important. I just love it, and we'll have to definitely bring you back again. This has been really great, Mark.
Whenever you're ready.
I mean, you covered everything from A to Z, and I really appreciate you for that. I mean, you just went all the way through it, and that's how we love it. It's the fact that you were able to cover plus answer the questions that was asked, and even questions that people probably already had. You covered it. Thank you so very much for being a humble servant, one that just love what they do, and in loving what you do, you have a way of reaching everybody on every level, and that's what I love about you. You're able to reach everyone
Thank
on
you.
every level. So thank you so much. You
Thank you.
have just
Thank you.
had
My
a
pleasure.
great
Thank you.
conversation. We've just had a great conversation with Mark Fumby. Mark
Yeah.
Fumby, prevention specialist.
Thank you.
Amen. Sharing great information. And there's more information that you can, just write in the comments. You want to get some information on Mark. Praise God. We'll definitely send it to you. And also, Mark, you want to share again where people can find you?
Sure. The best way to get me is just check out the website, whether you type in markfomby.com or ftcpreventionservices.com. All my contact information is there.
Very good.
Markfomby.com, markfomby.com or ftcpreventionservices.com.
All right. Now you had it. This has been Let's Talk About It with Alice. And as we always say, love, peace, and increase. And that means to you,
Okay.
increase in your life. Thank you so much for joining. Let's Talk About It with Alice. Goodbye.